In the current world of gaming, we have been conditioned to think that the bigger and more complex a game mechanic is, the better it will be. Huge games like Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate have found great success under this philosophy. But there is this little indie game called TOEM, which proves that simple and purposeful game mechanics aren't only surviving in modern gaming, but even thriving. TOEM is a wonderfully crafted adventure where you use your handy camera to help aid people in various locations. At the start of the game, your camera is what you'd expect from a camera in a video game. You can point it around, zoom in or out, and flip it around to face yourself. It isn't mind-blowing, but it gets the job done, and more importantly, it sets a wonderful base for future mechanics to build on. But what exactly should these mechanics build on? This question is where TOEM stands out from other games, because the answer to it is very simple: the camera. The camera is the lens through which the player interacts with the game, and instead of making entire other systems for the player to keep track of and learn, TOEM just builds on this incredibly simple mechanic. The first example of this is when you get a tripod, which is an item you can place down in order to take photos from a distance or to take a photo of you that is not a selfie. As stated before, this builds on the camera in a very clear and clever way. It plays into certain puzzle aspects of the game, and it allows for more expressive photos. But most importantly, it is simple and easy for the player to understand. The second mechanic you'll be given is the ability to take photos with different filters and frames. This leans more into the expressive side of the game and lets the player have much more freedom with taking visually pleasing photos. It also has a humor element engraved into it, as certain filters can elicit very funny results to say the least. And much like the last mechanic, it is simple and only further builds on the central mechanic of the camera. The third mechanic introduced is the ability to honk a horn while looking through your camera lens. At first thought, this may seem random and kind of pointless, but surprisingly, it is an incredibly diverse mechanic that allows for many different interactions. One example of this is the ability to scare or surprise your targets in order to get more humorous reactions, or to get them to do something that lets you progress further. It also has a funny charm to it that fits the game perfectly, and just like the other mechanics, it is simple and only elevates the camera mechanic more. Now, at one point in time, we could have said that this wraps up all of TOEM's primary mechanics, but because of a free content update later released by the developers, we were blessed with the unique ability to launch water balloons with our camera. And this was perfect for a post-game ability, as it allowed for so many more interesting interactions in the game. Let's be honest, it's basically the horn on steroids, and it effectively turned this common little photography game into a first-person shooter part of the time. But like all of TOEM's mechanics, it was simple, fit the game's purpose, and worked perfectly. In a gaming ecosystem where we've been conditioned to think that bigger is better, TOEM takes a step back and reminds us how simple game mechanics can be just as effective as complex ones. A good mechanic is one that is necessary and builds on a game's purpose. And if the game developers of today can remember that, then the ecosystem is in good hands. Thanks for watching to the end. If you enjoyed the video, maybe consider leaving a sub and sticking around. I am a small YouTuber trying to find his place on the platform, and would love to have you along for the ride. And if you leave a comment, I will be sure to respond to it as I check every single one of them. And with that, my name is Huzi, and I hope to see you next time.